Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to walk you through a free trading strategy built around market structure, liquidity, and order blocks. And to keep things transparent, I'll be back testing last week's trades so you can see exactly how this performs in market conditions, not just theory. I call it STE, sweep, tap, and execute. Okay? If you want to join, today I only want to go over this week's trades. I don't really want to go into depth with anything else today. But if you guys have any questions, of course, you guys can DM me or you guys can message the Discord. Anything, I'll respond. Just let me know. Okay. Alright, so let's start on Monday. Let's see. Start back testing. We'll go all the way to beginning of the week, which was Sunday. Sunday 3 p.m. Do one here, break of structure, and our second one right here. Okay, so those are our two breaks, signaling we are in a downtrend on the 4 hour. Okay, so the 4 hour is bearish. So the 4 hour is bearish. It's probably better. Okay, so 4 hours bearish, and we are inside this order block. And the 1 hour is bullish at the moment. Okay, so let's mark up the breaker structure, which would be here, and the breaker structure here. So what can we do in this moment, right? So obviously you want to be taking short-term buys, right? But overall we are bearish, so you want to take a sell either at this order block, right, which would have happened on Friday morning. Okay, so now we are inside this order block, right, Sunday evening, right? So what we do is we come down. Let's see, what time is it? Oh, we go to 3 o'clock, and you can see market came down here, and I believe so this is an order block, right? So here we have a breaker structure, right? So that's what we want. We want the market to change back into a bullish trend, right? So as you can see here, it opened up bearish, right? So we want the market to change back to a bullish trend. On the 5-minute, signaling we're going to be looking for a buy, right? So once market changes direction on the 5-minute, right, now we can start looking for our liquidity, right? So our liquidity would be down here, right? Liquidity. Okay. Now we're still inside this order block, right? Or you can use an internal order block like this 5-minute one. Okay. Either or is fine. Okay. But we need to swipe liquidity. Okay. That's the most important part, okay, of this trade, is we need to swipe liquidity before we can even think about entering a buy. Okay. So there you go. And it stays above this order block, right? The body of the candles stay above this order block. So that 5-minute order block is still valid. Okay. So we're going to use the internal order block as well. So that's another confluence. So what do? We wait for market to break above a lower high, right? And boom, there it is, right? That's our entry. Boom. All right, you want to at least, I would do at least 70. Okay, at least 70 pips, right? 70 pips would be your 101, right? Meaning you're risking $100 to make $100. That's your 101, right? So that you're risking about 70 pips there, right? And 140, obviously 70 times 2 is 140. So your 1 to 2 is 140 pips. That's your target 2, right? Technically your target 1, right? This target right here is just for you to move your stop loss, right? So call it target 2, whatever. All right, so obviously 210 pips or ticks will be oh, what's up with this? Okay, 210 ticks will be your 1 to 3. Okay, so that would be target 3, target 2. So we enter the trade there, right, and we let it play out. Okay, so and boom, there it is, that easy. That was your trade for Sunday evening at after 3 p.m., right, which would be Asia session, right around 5. So that was it. Let's see, let's delete everything. Clear picture of what I'm looking at. Okay, the 4 hour. Okay, so we want to mark up our breaker structures, right at 5 a.m. right, and I believe this one broke below as well, and it did. So we are looking for sells again, right, because overall on the 4 hour we are still bearish. Okay, we only have one break to the upside right here. This is still our breaker structures on the 4 hour that we marked up for Sundays, right? So we are still bearish on the 4 hour time frame. All right, so it is about 5 a.m. Okay, we wake up at 5, start trading gold at 5:30 a.m. Pacific time. That's 1 hour before New York opening. Okay, New York opening for the Pacific Standard Time, Pacific time would be 6:30. So an hour before New York open. Okay, so oh my God. Okay, so you want to mark up your order blocks, which would be here, and obviously this big one right here. Okay. So lower high, swing low, liquidity here. And do we have an order block tap in? Maybe on the 15. Oh, right here, this 15-minute order block. I think we do. Yeah, we do have an order block tap in right there. Okay, so what we do here, right, is we wait for market to break below here. Okay, boom, there it is, and then that candle here, that pullback would have been your entry. Let's do 90 pips. 90 pips. Okay. All right. Boom, that was an easy trade, guys. 1 to 2. Okay. The next day on Tuesday, I did catch a buy on Nasdaq. So obviously we want to come in and look at the whole market, right? Understand where we are, right? You could start with your daily. Okay, so your daily is obviously bullish. Okay, and if we zoom out, we are also at all-time highs. Okay, come down to the weekly. This is why I also check the weekly, right? I want to see where we are. This whole chart will tell me that we are at all-time highs right now. Okay, you want to be careful when you're trading all-time highs. Okay, so you want to mark up that all-time high. Okay, because that's part of our trading session, because we have a chance of either waking that all-time high and then selling off, right? So that's part of our trading session, so you got to always mark up that all-time high if you're close to all-time highs. So that's our all-time high. Let's see. So let's mark up our breaker structure. We have one right here. And let's look for that second one down here, which would be right here. Okay. Right? Yeah. All right. So we are bullish, right? The daily also told us we were bullish. We mark up this 4-hour order block. Okay. All right. And you can mark up the liquidity as well if you need to. All right. So this order block and liquidity right beneath it. So let's check the 1 hour. The 1 hour is bearish, okay? But we are inside a 4-hour order block, and it is after 6:30, okay? So once it's 6:30, okay. So after 6:30, right, we're inside this order block. We know we should be looking for buys, okay? We do not want to be. I know the 1 hour is bearish. I said we can take sells if the 1 hour, is vice versa with the 4 hour, but we are not in the area we need to be for us to look for that sell on the 1 hour. Okay. So the 4 hour is bullish. We're going to go with the 4 hour, right? We always want to go with the higher time frame. So the market opens, right? We automatically swipe liquidity down here, okay? Because of our swing high here, okay? So we have a swing high there. And at 6:30, swipe liquidity. Okay. Hello. And market just shot up. All right, I think that would have been your guys' trade actually. I didn't take that market opening trade. Okay, I waited for a better setup. I lied, I did take that trade. I lied. I did take that trade. All right. That was actually the trade I took at 6:35. I used about 50 pips as my 1-to-1. And I did get stopped out. Didn't I get stopped out of break even? Okay, that's why I did take that. I did take that trade. I got stopped out of break even. Okay, so that wasn't my initial trade of the day. I got stopped out at break even. And we waited for a second setup, right? So we come back in, we mark up our breaker structures, and then our liquidity, right? So we get liquidity here, and we wait for that setup, and we don't get it, right? Not just yet. We broke down beneath, right? We had multiple breaks to the downside, so we have to wait for the market to change direction and tell us that we are bullish again on the 5-minute. Okay, so we just cannot jump into this trade off of anywhere in here. We just can't. Okay, we need the market to change direction again, and for us to give us everything we need. Okay, like a breaker structure, liquidity, order block tap in, same thing. Okay, so there we go. Market changes direction again. All right, so now it's telling me we are bullish again, right? So we have a break of structure. Okay, we have a break of structure. Now we can mark up our liquidity. Okay, boom, and we wait for market to change direction, or to pull back and give us some type of confirmation. Okay, let's see. Boom. Okay, so one break back to the downside is not a break of structure. One break to the downside is a liquidity sweep. Okay. So we obviously, you see this here. This is a higher low. It got broken, so that is liquidity, right? And obviously we created a higher high, so that would have been your swing. So regardless, it's swipe liquidity, right? But it broke beneath it. One break to the downside, liquidity, and we get an internal tap into this order block on the 5-minute. Okay, so now all our confluences line up, which is just exactly what we need. Okay. Okay, so now we got everything we need. All right. So now we need there we go. We have a double bottom here, right? We need it to get broken now. Okay. And boom, there it is. Obviously, we wait for a small pullback. Do at least use 40 pips. Okay, wait for a small pullback. Boom, there it is. right? There's your pullback into this area, right? Get the pullback 40 pips and already hit 1-to-1, right? Our 1-to-1 would be right there. And our 1-to-2 would be 80 pips. Target 2 and target 3 would be 120, sorry. 1-to-3. Okay, everybody follow me? So now we hit break even, okay? We're at break even. Now you want to move your stop loss to break even and let your trade play out, okay? And we were really close. Okay, I caught it a little lower. We were like right here. If you check my Instagram, it'll show you that I didn't get stopped out. It was close, but I didn't get stopped out. So we hit break even, and we held it all the way to 1-2. And if you held it to 1-3, hey, good on you. One was a break even, and the second one was a dub. Okay, 3 trades max a day. If you catch a dub, you're done for the day. You don't keep trading. Right? It's part of the trading plan, guys. Okay, so that was my second trade of the day, and it was a banger, freaking banger. Now we go on to gold, right? And I think it was on Wednesday either, right? So this was Thursday's trade. Okay, so like I said, the 4-hour is bearish, right? We have 2 breaks to the downside, right? And you can say we have 2 breaks, but that's internal structure, okay? Internal and external, 2 different things, okay? So this is internal, and then it swiped our liquidity, right? Which was right here, okay? So that's technically, you just technically have 1 break to the upside, okay? So swiped liquidity, okay? On the 4-hour, right? And the 1-hour is bullish, okay? Right, so let's see. Let's go to 5 a.m. Boom, 5 a.m. Okay. Okay, so 5:30. We come in and we try to understand where we're at, okay? Right now we have 1 break to the downside right here. Let's see, I think the next candle breaks below. Yes, it does. Boom, that's your second break. That's 2 breaks to the downside on the 5-minute. On the 15-minute, right? So we can use a 15-minute as our structure, right? Because we are looking for sales based off this 4-hour liquidity, right? This 1 break above, okay? So the 15-minute we'll be using as our structure, okay? So we have 2 breaks, right? So now we can start looking for a potential setup, right? This is a huge 15-minute order block right here, right? And we want liquidity to be swept, okay? Remember, that's I told you that's the most important thing, right? We gotta, besides our bias, we gotta swipe liquidity, okay? So let's delete this 15-minute so we won't get confused. So right here we have a break of structure on the 5-minute, okay? So there's liquidity right above it, right? Which would be at this lower high, okay? So liquidity there, and then obviously liquidity above this breaker structure, right? At this lower high. So liquidity there, okay? We just need to swipe it, and we will be inside the 15-minute order block, okay? Which is part of our confluence. All right, so we wait for market to come back and swipe liquidity. Boom, there it is. There was news at 5:30, so that's why I didn't even bother waiting or looking for an entry there. There was news, I think, on Thursday at 5:30. But anyways, so we swipe liquidity. We're inside this order block, right, which is freaking great, and we swipe this this liquidity up here. Okay, you can delete that one if you want. So just one break to the upside as well on the 5 minute, right? So everything still lines up. So boom, we wait for a break, right, below here, right? This is what we call anticipation break, right? So you enter there, or you wait for the pullback. I entered right there and just put my stop just above there, right? So we target about 73 pips as our 1-to-1, okay? And our 1-to-2 would be down here, okay? Yep. 1-to-3 down here. Okay. So then our 1-to-3 would be down here, right? If you guys like to target more than like a 1-to-4, 1-to-5, that's by all means, you guys can go ahead, right? I just 1-to-2, 1-to-3 for me, you know, and I'm done for the week. You're done for the day. All right. So obviously we entered there, we hit 1-to-1, 1-to-2, and then I exited or somewhere around here. And I hit like a 1-2, 1-2.5 or something. I don't remember. But that was it. That was a trade. And then there was also another trade during Asia session Friday or Thursday afternoon, whatever. I'll show you guys that one right now. So that's that. So here, that was that trade for the week. And then we have, okay. So market on the 1 hour goes back to being bearish, okay, which is important, okay. And we know we're looking for sells now because the 4 hour is still bearish, right? So Thursday after 3, okay. So we're inside this 1 hour order block here, okay. And market opens after 3, a breaker structure here, okay. Breaker structure here, right? All this is internal. There's really nothing here, right? So this would be liquidity above here, okay. Check the 15-minute, right? Swept liquidity on the 15. It's kind of what you want if you're trading Asia. You want to sweep a higher time frame liquidity more than a lower 5-minute one. That's just my preference when I'm looking for a trade this early. Obviously, market just opened. So I obviously wait for at least a 15-minute liquidity to be swept, and that's exactly what happened. So it was perfect, okay. It swept a 15 and a 5 all together in one. So there it is, right? And we got a double top. We're inside this. It opened into this 1 hour order block, right? So we obviously have a double top here, okay. We have a double top, right? Double top, and we want it to break below and then retest, right? So that's perfect execution there, okay. So we enter our short there, okay. Stops right above. Do about 51 pips. So 1-to-1, okay. And 1-to-2 would be about 102 pips. Okay. Alrighty then. Usually during Asia, I just target 1-to-2, 1-to-3 max. 1-to-2 max. So that was it, and we let it play out. We were in this trade quite a bit. Obviously, it's Asia session. Market just opened at 3 p.m. Right, we're in a trade, but it was perfect setup for me. Okay, 4 hours is saying sells. 1 hour is saying sells now, right? And we're in this order block tap in, and liquidity swept. Beautiful setup. And it gapped up, so chance of it coming back down here is pretty high, right? So we're in this trade for quite a bit, right? In some drawdown, right? And then finally, obviously after 5 is when market tends to kick in because there's an overlap with another session, right? Can't remember what session that is. Sydney and something. I don't know, Sydney and Asia, something like that. Sydney and then the Asia session. So then market kicked in, right? I mean, volume kicked in, and it finally pushed down to my side, obviously. So we hit 1 to 1 and 1 to 2. Boom. That was a beautiful trade. That one wasn't as pretty as the other ones, right? I don't recommend my students obviously trading Asia session because of how fucking shitty the markets are during that time. Okay, and I was in that trade for about almost an hour and a half, a little over an hour, yeah. But hey, it played out. It did everything I wanted it to, right? And that's just the beauty of making money on the markets, right? Okay, so that was my trading week, right? For the last week of April. Okay, obviously I don't trade Fridays. Okay, so the week for me starts on May 3rd. Right, that was it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me backtesting my trades for the week. But if you guys have any questions, comments, want to reach out to me, Trade Like Moy on all social medias, right? Yeah. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Peace. Catch y'all. I'm gonna go watch the Laker game. We better win game 6, y'all. Houston going down, baby. All right, y'all. Catch y'all.